Hello again everyone. So today, as you can probably guess, is another Graflex. And this one is The Empire Strikes Back. It's another vintage Graflex as well. This is another ink Graflex, like my other one, like my New Hope. But this one's set up in Empire Strikes Back. It is mostly vintage. There's a few replica parts on it that I hope to change in the future. But most of it, if not all, from top to bottom is vintage. There's just the odd little greebly that isn't, which I'll get to as I go down the hill. I'll talk about where I got the parts, what I did to them, and all that kind of stuff. And then also as I work my way down the hill, I'll talk about some of the other parts, like here, like the little greeblies and accessories and all that kind of thing. So starting from the top, this one has a lot of like nice patina and pitting and rust and stuff on the, especially on the bunny ears. Like this has a lot of like pitting and rust on it, which I quite like because it really gives it that vibe of from A New Hope till now. Luke's had it for a while. It'll have got a little bit more bit wear and tear on it from Luke using it in the Rebellion and things. So I like that this one's a little bit more worn in looking than my New Hope one. So yeah, I really do enjoy that. Like, because I was going to clean this up and try and get rid of some of the grime and stuff that's on it, but it's just so perfect looking like this. It just looks so like the amount of times I try and replicate things like this on other hilts to make them look like this. I thought I'm just going to leave this like this because this is naturally what I try to replicate a lot. So there's no point in cleaning this up because it just looks great. And a lot of people probably don't like they want it to be perfect and not rusty and stuff, but I really like the bits and the imperfections and the sort of wear and tear on it, like all the wee sort of marks and chips and scrapes. It just makes it look much more used and real, and the fact that this is probably like 80 years old just really gives it that kind of, like, I don't know, it feels like a genuine piece of the film. Like here, like it's so close to holding the real prop. It's what I really like about it. If it was like perfect and pristine, it would feel too much like a replica. So I really enjoy the little, just the age and the wear and tear. So, and also inside the wee sockets here, the pins are all patinaed and there's dust and dirt. They are stepped pins like inks have, but like from angles they just look like smooth pins because of the amount of dirt and patina that's on them. You don't really notice. So yeah, I don't mind that it's an ink and not a foamer. And it is a second vintage red button as well on here. I decided to keep the beer tab and the rivet on mine, just because I didn't want to I can't bring myself to like disassemble it to try and get that off or try and get it off from the outside. So, and I like it with that on it. I know it's not 100% accurate with that, but I like it. I don't really feel like removing it. If it was a replica, I would just remove it, but given this is a vintage one, I wouldn't want to do anything that's permanent damage to it. So I kept that on. Plus it has lots of nice rust and sort of dirt and all that in it as well. So yeah, same with the little slide switch or slide tab. And then I'll move down to the clamp. So yeah, the clamp as well, like the rest of it, has that nice sort of scrapes and chips and sort of like some rust inside the grooves. And then sort of rust on the washer and on the lever. The tape is from Wonawonga, and the clamp card is a Skywampa clamp card. I would really love to get a vintage board for here. I know a lot of people use the Otis elevator boards because they look really close, if not identical, to the ones on the props from ESB. But I've seen other people that have used other boards that are almost the exact same as well. So I don't think we know for certain what board they used. They just know what ones look right. So yeah, and the Otis one seems to be the one that looks the most right, so people tend to use that. But I've not been lucky enough to find one yet. So one day I'll swap that out. And then moving down to the grips. So yeah, these are Wonga grips as well that I've cut and notched to the correct sort of measurements from the blueprints on Wanga's website. And the screws are vintage screws that I took from an old cassette deck. Is that a cassette deck? Yeah, an old cassette deck from the 70s or 80s. Like, it didn't work. It had been like ripped apart. And the screws on it, I noticed, looked exact size for the ones on this. And they've got really nice sort of rust and sort of just age and sort of damage to them. I'm like, yep, perfect. Goes with the whole aesthetic. So no point in putting some new looking screws in there when you can get ones that look all beaten up. And then moving down to the end cap, I've got a vintage Kobold clip on here, which I was so happy to find one of these because they're really hard to come by, and just the flashes themselves and the clips separately seem to be even more hard to find. So I was lucky enough to get a Kobold flash that I took the clip off of to use on the saber. This is a Wonga clip on here just to sort of just complete the look of this while it's like this, because without the clip on it, it just looked a bit, I don't know, incomplete. So the Wonga one fills it in nicely. And the Wonga has the threaded hole on the side here that you can then reattach to the little side panel that you can hold the little ball bearings in that help like tension on the flash shroud, like the flash reflector when it sits in there. So yeah, this clip was so great to find. And I noticed when I got mine that it had like whenever they were making this part originally, when they were drilling this hole, they must have placed it slightly too high up, that when they drilled it, like you can see how close it is to the edge on the top, so it's bled through onto here when they were drilling it. So it's left a little kind of hole there, which I'm happy with. Like, it adds to that beaten up realism that it's got. And as you can see as well, it's got the Graflex ink stamping on the bottom. So this is the vintage lower that I've used, and I did drill and pop the rivets on here, so it is like permanently attached on here. But I know I normally wouldn't drill and rivet on to the vintage, because I didn't do that for my New Hope. That's a replica bottom that I used to do the riveting for the clip. But with this one, when I got the flash, I already had a hole drilled in the bottom of it, right in the center. For, I don't know, maybe back in the day someone drilled a hole to mount it to a tripod or do something with it. So it had this big unsightly hole right in the middle of it anyway, so I didn't feel bad drilling these two onto it. So, and it covers up the hole that was there, so yeah, I didn't feel bad doing that. If it didn't have that hole in the middle, I probably wouldn't have drilled this, but because it had already a hole there, I didn't feel bad drilling the extra holes for these. They are just replica rivets, well, not replica rivets, they're just new rivets. So I was going to try and find vintage rivets, but I didn't bother, because I was I can always change these in the future if I want to, but because I can just draw them out and put new ones in. But for now, this a rivet's a rivet. And the D-ring is a replica as well. It's the Wonga one that came with this clip. So yeah, I just put that on here because it fit perfectly. The one I do have a vintage like 70s D-ring that I was being mean to, it's almost the right size, so I was almost putting it on here, but it kind of is slightly too thick of a D-ring that it doesn't quite fit in the original hole on this side. It's just a bit too tight, and I didn't want to enlarge the hole here anymore, so I've just stuck with the Wonawonga one until I maybe find another vintage D-ring that I can then put on. Actually, with the clip, there's things I noticed about the clip that's different from the replicas. Like the replica ones have, see if it's easy, see if I can make it obvious to see. So, like, you can see there's a much more of a step down between this bit and this bit. On the replica ones from Wonawonga, they don't have such an obvious step down. There is a difference height-wise between those two parts, but there isn't as much of a height difference in step down as in this one. Also, the finish on, I mean, this one you can't see the finish on the other side, but it's the same finish that's on, so the finish here is the same finish that's on the other side, like on the side that you would see. But on the replica, or on the vintage one, it has like a brushed chrome finish, much very similar to the Graflex's, like to the finish that's on like here. It's even shinier actually. It's a bit more chrome. But yeah, it's got a kind of more of a brushed chrome look where you can see the grain. I don't know if that's just a variation in clips. Like maybe there's other Kobold clips, like other vintage ones that look like the one that Roy from Wonawonga modelled his after, or if that's just a difference that he maybe put in it so that you could tell one of his clips from a real one, so it was easier to tell. But yeah, this Kobold flash is accurate to Han episode 5. So yeah, Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo one. They just painted it black, and so it's all kind of weathered and chipped, the paint that's on it, but it's accurate to that one. I think it's also accurate to his Return of the Jedi one, which is the same thing with the weathered black paint. And it's almost accurate to Luke's A New Hope one, except I think Luke's doesn't have the knurling around here. It's just smooth, I think. But other than that, I think it's the same. So yeah, this actually has a lot of nice patina on it as well, like scrapes and chips, and I love how the paint on the Cobalt is just like bits of that are just coming off and chipping out. I really do love weathering, especially natural weathering like this, because it takes so much time to try and replicate this type of finish, and in these parts you just have it from decades of sitting around and getting like hitting against things. So yeah, I'm tempted to paint this black here to look like the A New Hope, not A New Hope, to look like the Han episode 4. Oh god, I can't think straight. Han episode 5 one. It's been a long day. So yeah, I might paint it, might not paint it. We'll see, because I don't want to. I don't want to cover up all the nice sort of chipped paint that's in here. So I'd maybe have to try and mask that off with like masking fluid and then paint it, so that I wouldn't ruin that. But I might do that one day, or just leave it as is. Also, when I got that, actually, the Cobalt, this came in the packet with it, which I wasn't expecting when I bought that this wasn't listed or talked about in the listing. This just appeared with it. I was like, oh cool, just this random little flash. I don't know who it's made by, or if it's Cobalt as well, or a different company. But it's a neat wee extra, feels like a very in-universe little thing, which has a clip on it that's similar, but it has the two screws separate rather than having them together. And I think it's a light smooth the whole way down on the back, so it's not got the step on it. But that'd probably be cool for a custom one, like a custom saber clip one day. So yeah, neat wee extra. And oh yeah, I've got this as well. This is a a rank badge for look. Just goes quite well with the whole ESB look. So usually when I've got these displayed on the shelf, I'll have this sitting in front of it. Just gives it a bit more of that Hoff vibe. So yeah, just magnets on. You can just put it on, and I sometimes do clip this onto my jacket if I'm going out, just for a wee bit of Star Wars to your everyday travel. So I can't remember the name of the store. So I think it's a store from Germany on Etsy that I got this from, but I'll link it below because they do a bunch of other ones. They do all the different Rebel ones and Imperial ones, and so yeah, there's lots of cool ones they've got on there. And so yeah, I think that's more or less all I was wanting to go over on this. I think. Yeah, I think that's more or less all of it. So yeah, if you've got any questions or I don't know, yeah, just any questions about it, about sabers and vintage parts and stuff like that, feel free to leave a comment, give me a message. And since it was Flex Friday, I thought I would do this. So yeah, so we kind of informal, casual little chat about probably my favourite piece in my collection, I think, because this, this is, if not my favourite, one of my favourites, just because it was so hard to get all the parts, and it's such an iconic piece or a replica of a piece of movie history that, yeah, and it's just so, it just looks so perfect that, yeah, I just love it to bits. So thought I'd do a little review for Flex Friday on it. And yeah, well, thanks for watching, and I'll try and do some more videos more regularly because I've got a bunch of sabers and stuff that I want to go over. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.